Hey, it's Brianna for Triumphant Tuesdays. I apologize for my appearance again. I still have that flu thing, like my body still feels like it got ran over by a truck, so it's been going on for like 2 weeks now, so if anyone knows anything about that, just please comment below because I'm kind of worried. But today's topic is about anxiety. I've had anxiety since I was 11, so I'm just going to give you some tips on how to deal with it and things that work for me. And just remember, these are things that work for me. They don't necessarily have to work for you, and they might not. But if they do, great. And just know that you're not alone. Anxiety is really common, and there are ways to get through it. And as always, if you need to, reach out for help. My new therapist, she told me that anxiety is a coping mechanism, and I never heard of that before. I always thought that you had anxiety because you were trying to deal with your other coping mechanisms. But she's like, no, anxiety is a coping mechanism too. And she said that anxiety creates high alertness because anxiety creates fight or flight type symptoms. Basically, in situations that are scary, we can either deal with them or run. But we sometimes don't need to do either of those things because most of the time life is not that scary, but sometimes your body reacts that way. And it's best if you can try to figure out what's causing your anxiety so that you can better deal with it. Sorry, I always get all itchy when I'm making videos. But if you can figure out what's causing it, you can better deal with it. And oftentimes, if you figure out what's causing it, you'll realize that being anxious about it doesn't change the outcome of the situation. The situation's going to play out however it's going to play out, and you being anxious about it only makes it worse for you. And the other thing I have to say about that is if you get anxious and your body gets all tensed up and you get nervous and your heart is beating really fast, don't give in to that. It's kind of like when that happens, we start getting all these negative thoughts about ourselves, at least for me. Like, stuff will go through my head that probably isn't true, and I'll just feel really bad about myself, and I'll feed into it, and I'll catastrophize with my brain and come up with a worst-case scenario. Don't do that. Just let it pass. Breathe as much as you can. Try to get through it, but just let it pass. And distracting yourself is really good. Like, if you can talk to someone else about something else, like, or, get on the computer, or do whatever you need to do. If you can distract yourself and kind of ignore your anxiety symptoms, it can help you. Like, if you talk to a therapist, they can better try to figure out what's making you anxious. But I have a really big purse, and the reason I do is because I bring a lot of things with me that help me, and there's things that I do to help myself. I take medicine too, but that was just a personal thing that I needed to do, but that's always an option. I have silly putty in my purse. Like, if you get anxious, like, it helps if you use your hands, and that just helps me. It's pink, and pink's my favorite color. I bring an entire meal in my purse too, just because sometimes being hungry for me can, like, cause anxiety, or if you are anxious, like, being hungry doesn't help, and bodies are very unpredictable. Sometimes you'll be hungry when you don't think you will be. So you should always have, like, an extra meal, just in case. I also bring water. I bring my phone. You might need to call somebody. Or or listen to your music. iPhones are really awesome for that. That's one thing I have in common with Ariel is I love iPhones. So that's really helpful. I have long hair. I love long hair, but, you can also, like, twist it around if you're feeling anxious. I do that. Jewelry, bracelets, like, you can twist those. Like, anything you do with your hands. If you like to knit, you can do that. I do that too. Putting on makeup is very soothing to me. I know everyone says this, but breathing is really helpful. If you take long, slow, deep breaths, like, you can also imagine, like, the anxiety going out of you when you breathe out, and that's really helpful. Like, I didn't like it at first, but it's actually really helpful. It just seemed like a cliche answer, but if you don't like breathing or you have a hard time doing that, you can do an activity that forces you to breathe. Like, I really like singing, so I sometimes do that. But also have compassion for yourself, realize that healing anxiety takes a really long time, and be open to the suggestions that people give to help you. But when you get anxious or have a really big panic attack, like, don't feel bad about yourself over it, and try to be solution oriented. For example, last week I had a really bad one relating to my PTSD, and I messaged the girls on our team because I didn't know what to do. But what I like about what I did is that instead of being like, oh my gosh, I can't get out of this, this is hopeless, I was very like solution oriented and decided, okay, this is what I'm gonna do about this. And I had to go to work like right before, like right as it was going on, I had to go to work, so it was really bad timing. But I'm like, well, if I write to them and I have my phone in my pocket, like if they answer me, like I'll be able to read it. So that was actually really helpful. So if you get in a really bad place with your anxiety, just try as much as you can to like figure out a solution and a way to fix it, rather than staying stuck in it and catastrophizing it, because that really doesn't help. Like, I know it's very easy to do, but it doesn't help. And if you find a way out of your anxiety, you'll actually fear it a lot less. And that's another thing. Try not to fear it. I mean, I know most anxiety is caused, or panic attacks are caused, because people actually fear having another one, and that's a really big contributor to that. But having a panic attack isn't unsafe. It's uncomfortable, but it isn't unsafe. It's scary, but it isn't unsafe. You'll be fine. You will. It seems horrible, and everyone probably has worst case scenarios in their head and they think they can't get out of it, but you can, and you will get through it. And feelings don't last forever. They're feelings. Well, I'm sorry this video is so disorganized. Like I said, I don't really feel good. Another thing I do is I write things on my wrists that help me, positive things. Like, I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. But it says pray, and the reason that's on there is because I work in a grocery store, like I said, and this lady came through my line that I know, and I know her daughter, but it turns out her daughter, like, is really sick and probably has leukemia, so I just wrote that on my wrist to remember, to pray for her. But you can also just write anything on your wrist, like stay strong, like believe, love, compassion, like anything you want to write. That way you can see it. I know Demi Lovato has this like whole stay strong movement. Really like one of those bracelets, I just can't find one. But so instead of like getting anxious about, the girl that I'm like praying for, it like reminds me on my wrist like that I'm not in control of that and I need to pray for her. But again, that's a solution oriented thing rather than being really upset about it. You have to realize what you can't control. And I can pray for her, so that's what I'm doing. And also, positive affirmations really help. There's so much help out there, but if you can just be positive and realize that your anxiety will get better, it'll be easier for you. And maybe you can bring some of the stuff I suggested with you. And just try to be solution oriented when you have anxiety attacks, because catastrophizing and thinking you won't be able to get out of them actually just makes them a lot worse. And try to ignore them and distract yourself as much as you can, and realize that you will get through it. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. Bye, guys.